Hello, this is James and Sophie from Needy Cat Games. Some of you might know who I am. I've been doing some of this game design stuff for a while. Sophie, not so much.
Hi.
But Sophie has been designing a really awesome game called Bonefields. We're in a really early stage of development. This game's currently up on Kickstarter, and so we thought we would put together a little playtest video so you can see kind of where it is now. Now, disclaimer, I'm going to go into the video in more detail, but this is complete work in progress. Stuff's likely to change, and what you see here is nowhere near a finished product. But Sophie, tell us more about it.
Bonefields, Ancient Grudges.
All the way around.
Ancient Grudges, Bonefields. We are, in a place, in a place of...
Ancient Grudges, Bonefields.
Yeah?
There it is, yeah.
Okay. Is a awesome setting where you have goblin and dwarf skeletons fighting one another. And what we tried to do with this very, very early version of the game, which is nowhere near finished or polished, is to try and invoke the feeling of how two skeletal forces might fight, and to encourage...
Noisily.
Yes, very clackily.
Yeah.
Is clackily a word?
It is now.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. We've tried to just come up with a system which is quite quick, which has a lot of different decision making in there. That is fun, and it's based largely on capturing objectives, and is pretty simple, pretty easy to pick up.
Intuitive.
Yeah. Intuitive,
word, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So as I said, it's not elegant, it's not pretty yet, and let us know what you think in the comments below. And
that was amazing.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful thing. Okay, so what we've got here is we've got a 2x2 area. I've laid out some of the lovely painted scenery that we've got from the Bonefields Kickstarter, and what we've got is just a little test warband. This isn't a complete warband, with your necromancer with 5 dwarf skeletons over here, and you've got your goblin vampire with 5 goblin skeletons over there.
Is he a voblin or a gampire?
I don't know. I think Voblin, maybe? Voblin?
We'll check this.
Yes, I think that's very important. So what we've got here is you've got 3 goblins with bows.
Yep.
At the moment, we're only worried about close combat and ranged. So you don't need to worry about any kind of weapons profiles at this stage.
That will be coming in later.
That will absolutely be coming in later, but we want to be able to get the basics down before we worry about +1 for this. Or
just going to... Hi everyone up there. Hi. Just to clarify, this is really work in progress. You're seeing the sausage factory here, as in that's the thing. As in, you're seeing what goes into the sausage, which people might not always want to see. So if you're scared of that, turn away now. If you don't mind seeing some cool playtest type stuff, where we're going to play through the game as it currently is, and see what we like, what we don't, that sort of thing. And there's going to be some missing bits, some placeholder mechanics. That's what we're doing. If you want to see that, groovy, carry on. I'm going back up there now because I can't feel my back anymore. Ow!
So at the moment, we are literally worried about close combat and range combat. We are not thinking about things like, is it a longbow or a short bow or a crossbow? We're not worried about whether they've got shield or armour. Mm-hmm. None of that's in place at the moment. We're just working on the basics of how they fight and what they do. Okay? So what we've got here is two small warbands. Because these guys are dead, and that
explains so much.
Yeah, I know. And the principle behind it is that the necromancer and the vampire goblin will be able to continuously raise more goblins and resurrect the goblins that they've or the dwarves that they've already got on the table.
Because the idea is, despite the lovely grassiness of this, it's meant to be played across a massive field of bones. Is kind of the idea, isn't it? Yes. There's always stuff to, always more raw materials.
There's always going to be more skeletons available. So really, trying to wipe out your opponent is a bit pointless in this environment. Yep. So the whole game, as it is at the moment, is based on capturing objectives.
Yep.
We have currently no set rules on how we place objectives or how you place your warbands to start with. So I've just sort of slapped them on the table. We've got
that will
3
come
of them.
later.
Exactly. So at the moment we've got 3 of them because I like 3s, because if you've got 4, you've got the chance of just sitting on your own objectives the whole time, which is boring. So we've got potentially, we're going to have to fight over, who gets supremacy. So that's where we're going to get our clashes. So there's some basic principles to go through at the start of the game.
Yep.
At the moment, everything moves 6 inches. We have some weapons profile. Well, not weapons profiles, my apologies. Model profiles.
Okie dokie.
Which you can see here.
Oh, look at that.
Look at that. Look, can you see?
Exciting.
Yeah.
Ah.
Ooh. These are completely arbitrary numbers at this stage. So everything moves 6.
Is half of that mine, half of it yours?
Some of it.
Oh no! I see. Yeah. Okay.
It literally, skeletons all have the same profile at the moment.
Yep.
That may not change. It might change. I'm not sure. Necromancers and vampires have slightly different stats. Vampires slightly better in close combat. Necromancers are slightly better at spells.
Yep.
Because I thought that was cool. So they each have 6 movement, which is inches on a tape measure, standard wargaming paraphernalia going on, and they have a certain amount of fight dice. So what you do is when a chap and a chap fight, you might attack me, you have 2 dice.
Yep.
And then when you roll your dice, you roll them. He's got a defense of 5 currently. If you beat that, you cause a wound.
And it's your highest dice, yeah?
It's your highest single dice. So what happens is that you pick 1 dice out of your pool. So he currently has 2 attacks against this guy, so he has a pool of 2. If you had more, say he was really, really good at fighting, he might have 3 dice. You'd roll your 3 dice, you still only get to pick the highest single dice.
So you're increasing your chances of rolling a high number.
Exactly. Yep. So then if you equal or beat the defense, then you cause a wound. Skeletons only have 1 wound at the moment. And necromancers and vampires have more.
Other big things might.
Big things will almost certainly do that.
Zogres?
Zogres, I would like them very much, just because I think they're really cool. Yeah. And things like potentially like werewolves, zombies, goblins, all of those sorts of things will probably be able to take a few more hits.
And teaming up against someone, that's the whole thing, right?
Yep. So next phase is a thing called mobbing up, and this works both in ranged combat and close up. That's a really big part of undead. When undead fight, they're basically much more destructive when they get into big mobs. So if you have 2 guys going up on 1, then you get 4 dice, and you get to keep 2 each, 1 for that guy, 1 for that guy, and you get to keep 1 dice per model in the fight currently.
So you're rolling these, and you then keep
2.
The 5 and the 6.
Yes,
and that's better than rolling the 2 individually, because you're picking 2 highest dice out of 4, which statistically is better than rolling 2 sets of 2 and picking the highest one of each.
Yes,
because maths.
Yes, exactly. Woohoo, maths! So obviously, do 2 wounds. He's only got 1 wound, so he would still go down. Yeah. If a model is wounded in this, because they're undead, they get to get summoned. They get to get resurrected back up from being hurt. They don't
reanimated.
Yeah. Resurrected, reanimated, however we're going to do that. You can also summon additional skeletons. There's also a thing called obliterating currently, where if you roll more than double, so not double like you did there, but if you were to roll more than double wounds, you actually remove it from the table and you have to summon it back. But we'll go through that in a minute. So that's the basic principles of combat at the moment. You get into combat by moving into base-to-base contact. That's as basic as it is. We've also got spells. Spells being a really cool thing and a big part of the mechanic. Here are my blue spell points. James has red ones for the goblins.
You've got more than me.
I have more than you because necromancers are inherently better than vampires.
Is that empirical?
It's an empirical recognised fact. So what happens is that at the start of your spell phase, which we'll go through in a moment, you can allocate a certain amount of spell points or magic tokens. We're not too sure of the terminology yet.
Again, it's all really work in progress, yeah?
Yeah. Right, so...
Did you just get jabbed in the face by a skeleton spear?
No. That was a tape measure, because I'm a professional, yo. So, you totally...
Spell points.
No, thank you. Right. So there's loads of things that you can do with spell points. They're a big part of the game. It's pretty much a central thing. So you can do the following.
Yep.
A magic token can be allocated to any model, and that gives it a buff. And we're going to think of a better name at some point.
You've got to buff your skeletons, or they get all...
buff your skeletons, otherwise
they look really naff.
Yeah, they get really drab.
Yeah.
Now, they can have as many spell tokens on them as they have wounds. So bigger things will be able to get buffed more. Smaller things can only be buffed a little bit.
What happens if you overbuff your skeleton?
There's a chance that they will die, but I'm not too sure how yet. So that's a thing that
is a thing that's going to go.
That's going to thing. I'm thinking it'll be a thing. We're going to have to test it though because it might just be a bit too overpowered.
Nothing's certain.
Yeah. So at the moment you can do any one of many things. So when you've got a spell point on a skeleton, you can discard it to give +1 to any of their stats. At the moment, their stats are fight, shoot, defense, move, and health.
Yep.
Okay. So you could discard it when they're moving to let them move.
Additional distance.
Additional distance. You could discard it when they're in a fight to give them an additional dice, or to allow them to keep an additional dice.
Ooh.
So they might roll 2, keep 2, or you might want them to roll 3, keep 1. There are lots of stats as to which one is suited to you, but depending on all the special rules that go in for all of the weapons and things, that you might want to make a difference in the choice. So that's why it's been left open at this stage.
Yep.
You can also discard one to keep an extra one in the dice pole. You can also discard a spell point to re-roll a dice pool for a single test.
Yep.
So if there were lots of guys mobbing up on one person and you happen to roll like 6 ones, you could discard one of the spell points on his skeletons to re-roll that.
So if you've got spell points on all of them, you might use one of them to roll an additional dice, one of them to keep an additional dice, and then one to re-roll.
Exactly.
Ooh.
Yeah, I know. That's why mobbing people is awesome.
Yeah, because I've not seen this in its current state, so I'm excited to see where this is.
But if you are damaged while you have spell points buffing your models, the spell points are automatically removed first before they get wounded.
Yep.
So you can't choose, if we were to have a bigger thing, say, I don't know, a goblin, off the top of my head, say it had 3 wounds, but it got hurt twice, but it had 2 spell points on it, you would lose the 2 spell points rather than being able to take the 2 wounds.
I see.
So the spell points are always taken off first.
So you can punch the magic out of people.
Yes, absolutely, because that totally makes sense. Any magic points that are not spent at the end of the turn automatically sit on the necromancer or the vampire or the spellcaster and act as buffing.
In the same way?
Yeah. So
but with no limit? With
no limit. Well, it's a limit of their wounds, but as they have like 10 wounds each, that really isn't a huge thing. But what it basically means is if you get to the end of your spell phase and you haven't allocated all your points, they just automatically sit on your necromancer and are there as optional buffs.
Nice. I'm picturing them as like sort of swirly magical energy, swirling around them.
Absolutely.
I'm going to keep dropping my spell points if that's okay.
No, that's fine. You carry on. There's 2 things that are very important to this game, which are that a spellcaster can resurrect a fallen model by spending a spell point. So if there's a guy fallen over, then you can spend a spell point in the spell phase to get him back up immediately.
Now, here's a question for you. Does that count as allocating a spell point to that model?
No, but you're not allowed to buff them once they've been resurrected.
Cool. Yep.
Or
nice.
reanimated.
Yeah.
Okay? So it's basically effectively
so in effect,
the same thing.
You put it on that guy and then immediately spend it.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So it's still got that limit on it.
Yeah, cool.
I don't know what will happen in the context of that with higher wound models. Why not? Let us know in the comments. So that was smooth. So
that was.
Smooth.
I liked that a lot. We're high tech. We are.
We are so totally high tech. Okay, so also a spellcaster can.
Oh, you've moved the thing. Carry on.
Sorry.
Okay.
A spellcaster can summon additional forces.
Yeah.
This is where these awesome skull tokens come into play, which Chris has beautifully sculpted.
They're on the floor now.
Just threw all of my pages on the floor. Okay, so you can lay these down on the board. They can't be within 1 inch of an enemy model or an objective. Okay, the reason being then that you can't summon straight into combat or straight into capturing an objective.
And you do this during your spell phase?
During your spell phase, you lay down one of these, you place your spell point on top of it currently. I don't know, maybe it'll be like a really pretty disc or something that goes underneath it, but we haven't quite decided that. So at the moment, we're signifying it by putting down a skull and then putting your spell point on top of it. So then what you've done is you've sort of put your public statement that something's going to raise
coalescing energy of your colour.
Exactly. There's probably some swirly magic going on. There's probably some skeletons like reforming, all of that sort of jazz.
The music's getting dramatic.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a thing that then sits there until the start of your next spell phase.
Right. Okay. Yep.
If an enemy model moves into base contact with it and does nothing else that turn, then they can disrupt the energy, remove the spell token, and remove the skull. Okay. But if it gets to the start of your next spell phase, you remove your magic point, have your skull token there, and then one of your skeletons will pop up.
Nice. So effectively, you're spending a spell point a turn ahead.
Okay.
You're spending it for next turn.
Yeah. Although I've got a feeling that I may have said that you have to place an extra... Oh yes, sorry, because I have only just changed these rules. This is why playtesting is really scrappy. I've actually put it in that you then have to... The start of the next spell phase.
Start the next phase, you have to then...
You remove that. You re-get your spell points back, which for a necromancer is 8, and then you have to spend an equal amount of spell points to the amount of wounds of the model that you're summoning.
Yeah, cool.
So for now,
Skelly is 1 plus 1, basically.
Yeah, so it costs twice as much to summon new ones than it does to resurrect your old ones. Okay, which is why resurrecting is quicker and cheaper. And the last thing I've put on there is, just to see how it works, is a magic missile, which is basically spell a token to...
throw it at the other models. And,
so you spend a token and you basically use the profile of the particular modelling question's shooting value to just shoot. There are no ranges in this. There's no limit because everything's in close combat. You're all up close. It just seems pointless to put a limit on the distance.
I'm guessing if we're looking to playing bigger games, we might start applying ranges.
Absolutely, but on a 2x2.
2x2 kind of what you're looking at for the
at the moment
game?
It feels right.
It does, doesn't it?
With the number of models. Now, obviously, we're using a reduced amount. We're using like the 5 rather than the 8 you get in the starting warbands. But I quite like 5 as a starting number with the potential that then you can summon additional skeletons. But again, this is all in flux. It all might change. So that's where we are at the moment. There will be more spells in the future, and there will be bespoke spells, ones that only vampires can do, only necromancers can do, only white kings can do, etc, etc. So and there'll probably be levelling up options where you can then buy extra spells at the end of a game, but we haven't got there yet. So those are just the basic ones. I have a list here if you require to read through it.
Instantly, things like levelling up, that's all going to be covered later.
Exactly, yeah. At the moment, we're just building the game, the basic mechanics of how you move and fight and do stuff.
Yeah. And similarly, things like when you raise a skeleton, there will be different restrictions on what equipment they can have, presumably, and how all that. But again, that will come down the line.
Exactly. It might be that... a more elegant way, I don't know, I'm pulling this out of the top of my brain, but it might be that a more elegant way of representing armour is to give them more wounds, which means that then they'd cost more to raise in the first place.
That's actually quite clever, yeah, like that.
Yeah, exactly. So there's lots of stuff like that which we may or may not put in the later versions. Yeah. But anyway, so that's your basics. The game functions where it's my turn, then it's your turn. Yep. There are 3 phases. That's move, fight, and spell. Okay. Yep. You can do those in any order you wish. So you could do your spell phase first, beef up all your guys, and then mob me. Or you might want to move into position, then do your fighting, which means that you can also shoot in your fight phase. That's why it's sort of fight
and then
rather
beef
than
up with magic because they're defended.
Exactly, you can do that because obviously then those are going to be ablative wounds for when I'm attacking you. It might be that you just want to dedicate loads of time to summoning, so you might not bother with buffing up your guys. At the moment, I quite like that as a mechanic. It may not work as we develop on, but at the moment, different. It's quite fun, and everyone seems to do it slightly differently. So that's quite interesting. So let's just get on with it and see how it goes. Because do you want to roll a dice? Do a roll off? Let's do a roll off to see who goes first. Double one. We rock. Double one again. Okay, we're awesome at this. Okay, come on.
Professionals
We can do this. Well,
that's a 4. There we go.
And I can't roll a dice flat, so you win.
Excellent.
Okay. Do you want to go first?
Do you want to send your dwarf back to his mates? Am I looking to hold the objectives standing on them? Or
hold the objectives base to base contact. Yeah. You gain a point for each turn you're in combat. You're in contact with it.
Is that the end of your turn? Is that?
That's the end of the round. Sorry. So each round. So that round being your turn and my turn.
Yeah.
I'm tempted, and this was a thing that I quite like, is that to avoid your spellcasters just sitting at the back being terrified and casting spells from a distance, because there's no ranges at the moment, maybe you can gain more victory points for every turn that your spellcaster is in base with an objective.
Yeah.
But I think maybe if we just don't do that for now and see
there's
how
all sorts
it
of
plays
opportunities
out.
there for tying that in later. So.
Exactly, or maybe that's a special mission, or a special like level up thing that you can equip your guys with once you get down.
So my go, yeah.
Yeah, it's your turn. So,
right. So I'll start off with some spellcasting. I'm going to beef up some dudes.
Okay.
They might be dudes. Might be goblin dudes or. Dudettes, or maybe
I don't think
maybe they're
goblins...
not non-binary goblins. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't think goblins have a gender.
No,
I'm not sure.
I feel like this is a discussion for another day, maybe. But anyway, I'm going to beef up some goblins with some. I'm beefing them up with my little red cubes. They're like little OXO cubes. Beef them up.
They
that
got
way.
Really, really nice gravy.
Yeah. I've lost the plot completely.
So you're beefing them up. So you're going to buff some of your
But I'm tempted
spells.
to actually fast forward this entire bit and just pretend that we just spent 10 minutes talking about goblin gender politics.
Okay, I like it.
Yeah, I think I'll do that. And I'm going to occasionally point at a goblin and start gesticulating wildly.
Okay.
And that's, why not? There we go.
Yep.
Cool. Okay, so, anyway, getting back to the point, I'm going to use some of these cubes to make my goblins be more cool. So I think this guy's going to have one there, so they can run and grab that objective. This guy's going to have one as well, to do the same sort of thing. And I think then I'm just going to do some shootage.
Okay.
And then the last one I'm going to use to plop down, that sounds horrible, a summoning, and these can go anywhere, summoning tokens.
They can go anywhere as long as they're not within an inch of an objective or another enemy model.
Summoning some goblin over there.
Okay.
Okay, so that's my spell phase.
Spell phase.
Then my move phase. And the fight phase is shooting...
Shooting and close combat at the same time.
And is that when you do your magic missiles as well?
I was going to do those in the spell phase.
It's a great question, isn't it?
But, yeah, it could be that you just leave them allocated to your spellcaster and then you remove them in the spell phase so that you can do a spell.
There we go. Or in the fight phase, you mean?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
That's
I got you.
exactly what I meant.
Yeah, cool. So this guy's going to go this way. He's going to go 6 inches. Now, what about moving around?
So moving around and through terrain. If you move through terrain, you get a -1 to your movement. -1 inch to your movement
for each
per
piece of terrain?
Yeah. So if you were to jump over the wall, then run through another thing, then that would be -2.
What happens going like this way across it? Is there any sort of...
No, there's nothing.
There'll be detail, I'm sure.
No, there's nothing in it at the moment. I am thinking of putting in some sort of form of impassable terrain, so things like pillars, and walls. But
everyone likes a good pillar.
Yeah,
right. That's him there.
Okay.
I'm then going to let's think. A bit of a firing line. So they're all going to kind of line up here now. Line of sight.
Line of sight is true line of sight in this. So if you can see the thing, then you can shoot at it.
Okay.
If there is anything in the way...
Yep.
So if there was a wall or another model in the way, if it covers the target by more than 50%, when you roll your dice, say you were to roll all 3 of those, they have, just for the sake of this example, they have...
Tell you what. I'll do my fight phase and I'm going to shoot you.
Okay.
That's what I'm going to do.
Okay.
Just because I'm curious to see how it works. These guys are going to shoot this skeleton
guy
here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I check my line of sight. Now, one of them, he's he's got a leg hidden. The other 2, he's very much 50%. Just a head behind a wall, yeah.
Okay, so what we do is you'd roll them as a mob. Now, the question here, let me see if I actually have...
Are they 2 shoot or 1 shoot?
They are 1 shoot each. Remember, you've got your buffing dice there.
I have indeed.
So... discarded dice can be allocated. Right. You would have your 3 dice.
Yep.
You roll your dice. You're rolling 3, keeping 3 at the moment.
Yep.
Before you roll them, do you want to allocate any?
I'd like to spend this.
Yep.
To roll 4.
4. So you're going to roll 4.
I'd like to spend this.
Yep.
Now, if I want to keep an additional, do I do that before the roll or after the roll?
You have to do it before.
So I'm going to be rolling 4, keeping 4.
Okay.
I want to make him really dead.
Okay. So you'd roll all 4 of your dice, and keeping 4. But the highest additional dice has to be allocated to the thing that's blocking its way.
Is that 1 for each one that's got a blocked shot?
Yes. So if you're rolling 4, keeping 4, the first 2, the highest 2, will be allocated to the wall, and then the rest will be allocated. So if you had a bad, like another guy there, you'd allocate your highest number to him, then
next
the
one to
highest
that.
one,
Oh, wow,
the next highest one to the wall, then to him.
Cool. So that's an awesome roll. So a 5 hits the wall, a 3 hits the wall, and that leaves the 2 and the 1.
He's got a defense of 5, so he does no damage.
But I'm going to use this one to re-roll some dice.
So you
I
can
can re-roll as many as I want.
as many as you want up
I'll
till
re-roll these 3.
Okay.
So the 6 and the 5 hit the wall instead, and it still isn't enough to get him.
No.
Okay. But if I'd shot the guy out in the open, that would have been heroic and awesome.
He would have.
The only reason I stuck there is because I'm trying to demonstrate things for the purpose of the testing.
Absolutely, it's a noble sacrifice.
I've got no more fighting because everyone else is kind of far away from me.
Okay.
So that's the end of my turn.
That's the end of your turn, so it goes to my turn. So I can choose now to either do my spell, my move, or my fight.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do my move first.
Yeah.
So I'm going to move up to 6 inches on each of my guys. Now, if I was to do my spell first, I could increase the movement of my guys if I was to discard spell points, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to use my standard movement, which is 6. So he's going to move into contact there, and then he's going to move there. This chap...
You're only getting 1 point for holding the objective, though, not like 1 per model on the objective.
No, at the moment.
Cool.
At the moment. So this chap needs to go there. There is no guessing of ranges. Everything can be pre-measured because it's just so much easier. So if he goes over there, he's going to lose a point of move, an inch of movement for going over the wall. Yeah. So that's
pre-measuring is one of those things
inches.
that divides people. Some people love it. Some people think it's ridiculous. So my reason for not being a big fan of it is I think that it gives an unfair advantage to the player of the game who's been playing longer and is therefore better at guessing ranges.
So what you mean...
also what it means is that even if you have an amazing artilleryman, for example, on the table, he's still limited by how good you as a player are at guessing ranges. And that seems weird to me.
Yeah. Yeah, but just to clarify, when you said I'm not a fan of it, you meant you're not a fan of not pre-measuring it.
I like to be able to pre-measure, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay,
totally,
cool. No, I just wanted to clarify for the folks.
That's a New Cat Games policy. That's a thing that we believe in. And if you disagree with us, we're very sorry. We can be convinced.
He can't actually get into range, but I'm still going to move him up.
Yeah.
Because I think this guy's going to need the backup at some point. Yeah. This chap's not going to move. This chap is going to run over here. Okay, so that's my movement.
Yeah.
So now I can do my spell phase.
Okay.
So that's what I'm going to do. I have...
So you've got 8 of those. Yep.
Points here. So I'm going to raise some people. So first of all, skeletons. So I think I'm going to raise Skelly over here.
Yep.
And I'm going to raise another Skelly over here. I think I might raise several. I'm going to do that.
Now, how does it work with model limits? Like, obviously, if you have a certain number of models in your collection, are you limited by how many you can raise? How does it work?
Undecided.
Yeah.
At the moment, I've limited it to about 8. Based on the fact that that's how many maybe you have in your warband, and maybe you can only summon up to the maximum volume in your warband.
It almost feels like you can have a thing where like the Necromancer can only maintain control over a certain number of things at the same time.
Yeah.
And that's the thing you can level up to expand your potential warband size. So as you got your warband roster, you have a certain number of models that are on there, but the maximum you can summon is higher than that. But it means that you always know how many models you'll need for a game.
Yeah, so I don't think it's infinite based on whoever has the most money, and so can buy the most models. But at the same time, I don't really want to say you can only ever have 8 and that's it forever.
Yeah.
So I really like that idea of being able to maybe increase that maximum volume as you level up, or maybe it's just an inherent thing. Every game you play means that you gain more experience and you get an additional summoning slot. Or
I know one
however
thing you were talking about the other day was the idea that the holding objective points become your leveling up points.
Exactly.
Like your draining magical resources kind of thing on the battlefield. I quite like that.
So the idea, and what I quite like as well, is that maybe in certain objectives that you're actually battling over particular pieces of war gear that allow you to summon specific things.
That's
like
cool.
the horn of, or the horn of summoning goblin werewolves, or whatever it is.
It's a big dog whistle, isn't it?
Exactly. And that you're fighting for that.
Yeah.
But then I don't know how that's going to develop, because obviously you don't want to say to someone, well, you didn't win that game, so you're not allowed to use those really cool models that you've built and painted. So maybe it just gives you an advantage in a campaign setting. So how does that work in terms of a single game? So there's a lot in there, that there's loads of potential to give loads of variety and interesting storylines to campaigns.
Yeah.
But what we don't want to do is make single games boring, because you have to play the campaign to enjoy it.
You've thought this through.
Well, but what I've thought about the problem. I haven't necessarily thought of a solution yet. So
that's what development time is for.
Whoop, whoop. So I'm not going to move this guy. Because we're not in the movement. We're in the spell phase, so I can't move him anyway.
Yeah. I just got really paranoid there that we weren't recording. We are recording. I'm going to check we're recording audio as well. Are we recording audio? We are recording audio.
Hooray!
Yay!
I'm going to allocate some points to these guys, because they look like they might get mobbed. Yeah. He looks like he might get attacked. I'm not sure. And I'm going to leave him with a couple of points on it as well. Cool. So that's the end of my spell phase. Then it goes into my fight phase. Yeah. Now, I do not have anyone who is long ranged other than my magic missiles on my necromancer.
Yep.
So I think my necromancer is going to try and just take a pop at this skeleton. I can see him. Ooh. Is he more than... I don't think he's more than 50% covered. He's got like a leg covered by the corner of that. But I don't think
have a look.
You can do if you want to.
Which one are you shooting at?
This
oh no, you've got a completely clear line of sight there.
Yeah. Absolutely, I think it's got a tiny corner there, but I don't think it's enough.
Fine. Yep.
So I discard one of my spell points to roll his shoot stat. He has a shoot stat of Mighty 2, so I'm rolling 2, keeping 1.
Could you spend another spell point to buff that?
Yes, I could. I think...
That's a good question, isn't it?
Maybe not, because it's a magic missile. It's a single spell.
It's a specific thing, yeah.
Yeah. I did have an idea that maybe there'd be like a more advanced spell, which is like chain lightning.
Yeah.
So that you hit one, and then you can you can discard an additional spell
and allocate the remaining dice
to
outwards.
allocate the remaining dice to like nearby.
You know what, as well,
models.
certain things like that. So magic missiles, things that are quite destructive attacks, can have a rule where they obliterate if they beat the number of wounds, not just if they double it.
Yeah.
So if you say you do 2, then you obliterate a thing.
Or maybe that's a special like it's like a magic missile.
You've got lots of like little hooks in here for rules.
Absolutely. And I mean, like, I really love the idea of it being like a chain lightning thing. But how does that work? Do you discard spell points and that adds more, or do they just mean that you can allocate out more?
Yeah.
There's loads of potential in there to do loads of really interesting spells based on one mechanic, which I quite like. So at the moment, let's just say no, you can't buff it, because it's a single spell and you can't buff something that's already a spell. Let's say that.
I've got to ask, important question, what kind of magic missile is it? What are you shooting at me?
I like to think it's a ball of indignance and rage, maybe represented by a ball of white light or something like that.
Okay.
Because obviously we're using necromantic magic, so maybe it's some sort of positive, nice magic that dissolves. Dissolves.
It's dwarf necromancy, so it's a particular form of necromancy.
Maybe I've just got a catapult with some really angry runes, and I'm just firing them at you.
Twang. Yeah.
Exactly. So maybe that's the thing.
Cool. Go for it.
So let's see. Oh, I got a 5 and a 4. Now I'm rolling 2, keeping 1. So I roll the 5, which is equal to your defense. So it goes down. You go down. You're not completely out the game.
Yep.
But you need to be
reanimated.
So that's the end of my fight phase. So now this is the end of the round. So now we're scoring points. So I'm getting 2 points and you're getting 1.
Hooray!
I will make a note of that
Do you
somewhere.
want some like funky tokens?
Yeah, yes. I was just going to write it down. But...
Well, it's up to you. Got some big green dice.
Big green dice.
So you've got what, 2?
I've got 2, you got 1.
I've got 1.
There we go. Hooray! So now it's the next round. James, what are you going to do?
So, let's think. So that's interesting. That's a thing to think about. Because the round order is fixed and you score at the end of every round, you will always get the chance to nick objectives off me. So it's worth having a think about whether that's worth looking at, whether that's okay.
I was just thinking, is it now a thing where we roll off to see who goes first again? Or is it because you go first, you get to choose whether you can go first or second? Is it based on who went first in the previous round?
Well, leave it as it is for now, but it's definitely something to think about because that flip-flop can be really...
really key.
Yeah, if you get the 2 turns in a row, that can be incredibly key. It might be, maybe you just score points at the end of your turn for objectives. That could be a nice, easy way to fix it. But we'll have a think. Who knows? Cool. Anyway, so yeah, my turn. So let's think. Now, if I did my spellcasting first, buff some things. What's my advantage of doing it last? Let's think.
So your advantage of doing it last is simply because you would be able to...
I can see what position the table's in at the end of my turn, kind of thing. So where I want to put things.
So, for example, if you were to charge into combat, there's no such thing as charging, so I should actually just say move. But if you were to move into combat with me and you didn't do very well, and you were now in base contact with me for the next turn when I have a potential to hit you back, you might want to buff your guys.
Yeah.
But I think it.
The point you've got on them. Sorry, just to clarify, they stay on there till the start of the next spell phase. Is that right?
Yeah.
So that could be a reason why you want to do it, is because you want to maintain the ones you had last turn.
Yes,
so when it comes down to your turn, you might want to keep yours on there, do your spell phase last, because then
you get maximum use. So you've got a buff here, right?
Yeah.
So if you were to do your spell phase first, you'd lose the buff on him, and you wouldn't have used that spell point. Where if you do it last, he could charge into combat, discard it, use it for a bonus, and then you could rebuff him if you use that spell point, the spell phase at the end of the phase.
You've got a nice little interesting wrinkle there, haven't you? There's something to think about in that.
Yeah, because I think loads of people might say, oh, well, obviously you're going to do your spell phase at the start of one phase, one turn, and then you're going to do it at the end of the next turn, so you get the maximum amount of buffing time.
Then you get the opposite, the following.
Exactly, and also it means that someone might have spent all their spell points during their turn, so they might not want to do that. They might not get their spell points back. So there's a lot in there in terms of when you do it.
Right, so over here, this guy now... getting rid of spell tokens. I have to end my turn in contact with it, and then not fight, basically. Is that right? So I'm looking horribly outnumbered over here, so I've got a chance to either... Okay, but no, so I'm going to attack you, because then that forces you to spend some more spell points to raise stuff, which means they're not being used elsewhere. So I'm going to swing around this way, and do some hitting in a moment. This is my movement phase I'm doing first. He's on the ground. These two are... What are they going to do? If I'm like in base contact with the wall, can I see over it? Kind of thing?
Yes, I think we should say that. I think I haven't got that written down, but I think that's a really sensible thing. I think if you're physically touching it, then you're going to be able to look over it. If you were like further away... Or
if it was taller, maybe. Or,
but there aren't any taller walls yet in terms of scenery pieces, and I don't know whether that would be a thing, so maybe... You don't want to overthink it and go, oh, well, maybe in a year there might be an extra thing, so let's put in rules for it.
At the same time, it is cool to have the option to make your own scenery and that sort of stuff. You know?
Exactly.
Right, he's jumping in there. Okay, so now I'm going to do my spellcasting phase. Now, here's a question. Now that he's in combat, does that affect his spellcasting in any way, or is he capable?
Currently, no.
Cool.
Maybe it does, but let's not worry about that.
Okay.
Did you want to do anything with your...
fight phase first then. Fight phase first. So
before you do spells?
Yeah, so let's go over here. So this fight, I've got 2 dice keeping 1. Now I'm going to... Let's think. There's going to be a question about whether it's worth having both the ability. Oh no, 'cause it comes in later when you have mob things. Because I'm thinking, am I better off? Someone will put this in the comments, I guarantee. Am I better off? Which of the three is better? Is it better to keep an extra one, roll an extra one, or re-roll all of them? Yeah. And really, it's interesting to have those three different bonuses because when you get into a big fight, you can use all three. Yeah. But in a 1-to-1, what is the best one to do?
And there's going to be an answer. There's going to be a statistical answer. Yeah. But at the moment, what I would rather not say when you're in a 1-to-1 fight, you can't do these things. I'd rather say it's up to people because they might go, I feel lucky. I'm not going to use it to do the sensible thing. I don't want to keep a
second one because I just need to do 1 point of damage to him to kill him. Mm-hmm. A second point of damage won't obliterate him. I'd need to do 3 to do that, yeah? Yeah. So that's no good. Re-rolling might be good, but also an extra dice might be good. I'm just going to keep it as potentially re-roll. That's what I'm going to do. So let's get this, and I'm going to re-roll.
Yeah, you needed that.
That was absolutely worth about a minute of figuring things out.
Oh dear, that was a double 2 if you
The dice got bored.
Yeah, that was a 2 and a 3 and then a double 2.
Right, over here, going to have a go at you. Okay. So this time I'm going to use this to chuck another dice in because re-rolling went so well for me. Yep. Should have re-rolled.
Yeah, that's terrible rolling on your part.
But in that case, there would have been an opportunity. And in fact, over there, it would have been sensible to keep one because the first point would knock off his spell token. And the next one would kill him, right? Yes. Because he's got a spell point. He's got an ablative wound, essentially. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. But anyway, I've done nothing useful. Now, what's my vampire like?
Oh, your vampire's quite scary, actually. I'm just going to show you. Can you see that? You see that? There's the vampire. So
YouTube he has might obliterate the detail on that.
Yeah, but it's basically a fight 5. Ooh. So you have 5 dice. Now, this is the thing that I'm wondering about how the stats work. At the moment, I think it works nicely with the skeletons, but I haven't yet decided if the fight will actually say something like the fight value will actually say 5/2, for example, so that's you roll 5 dice and you're keeping 2, rather than rolling 5 dice and keeping 1, because it feels weird that he gets 5 dice,
but only
keeps 1.
So what you can have is it as an optional add-on to the stat. So if the stat is just 2, that means you're always keeping 1. Mm-hmm. But if it's a 5 brackets 2, that means you're rolling 5 and keeping 2.
Yeah. So it could be a thing. Maybe it's a thing that only special characters get. So things like heroes and spellcasters.
Yeah, I think it can just be a thing that it's there when it's needed. Yeah. Otherwise, if it's not there, you assume it's a 1.
It's a 1.
So how many should he be keeping? So I like this rule. I think it's a great rule.
Yeah, I like the idea of him keeping 2, maybe.
Cool. Yeah, let's do that.
Because I don't think it's very satisfactory. Yeah. When you're rolling 5 dice to not then have like a bigger effect.
As an aside, how thirsty must he be?
Yeah.
Because he ain't drinking no blood around here.
No, he's gone on a diet. Yeah. He's on a slim fast.
I think he's got you.
Oh my goodness.
The 6 and the 5.
Oh, that's just horrendous. Okay, so that's taken him down, but because
one of them's got rid of your spell point.
Oh yes,
and one of them,
so that's gone. Yeah.
If I had any spell points left, I'd buffed that. I could have kept a third one, and that would have potentially
obliterated him. Yeah, and that would have meant that he's removed from the board, and you have to summon him and back.
It would that happen though, because of the way we have to think basically about the way, or you have to think. It's not my job. Think about the way that interacts with the obliteration. So, do you have to do double the number of wounds after deducting 1 for a spell point?
It's wounds, yeah. So the spell points are ablative. Yeah. So they don't count. Towards the obliteration.
I'll give you a worked out example. Say I'd rolled that, which I think is roughly what I rolled.
Yep.
And he had one of those. So the first one of these gets rid of that.
Yep.
I would need to have kept an additional one in order to obliterate him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, no, hang on. No, sorry. So you did.
I did that.
So you rolled 5 dice.
Yep.
Keeping 2.
Yep.
So say you kept these 2.
Yep.
And I had a spell point that would obliterate the highest number.
So then I've only got 1 left.
You've only got 1 left?
Yeah.
So if you'd rolled 2 dice, that would have only equalled my... So if you'd rolled an extra dice, you would have kept another 2 after the spell point was obliterated.
So I need to keep 3 after getting rid of the spell point in order to obliterate. So you need to keep 4.
Yes.
So you're not going to do that unless you're really laying the boot in with lots of them at once.
Lots of them at once. Or the vampire, of course, you could have buffed him several times. Remember, he can have a lot of spell points allocated to him.
So the question then is, are there going to be limits on how... Is there anything stopping you just leaving all your points on your vampire and making him really
and making him rampage? Absolutely no. No, there's nothing stopping you from doing that. But he is one character moving around at 6 inches a turn, and the moment he leaves something, then you can recapture that objective. Yeah. So the whole point is it's not about just wiping out your opposing force. There might be something where you have to obliterate more than half the force. That's going to be really difficult to do. So that's something to keep in mind.
Just shaking the camera there.
Oh, nice.
Make sure everyone's awake, basically.
Yeah. We need to make sure that we're sticking to our roots in terms of shonky camera production.
So it's my spell phase. So I gather back in my points, is that right?
Absolutely.
So I gather this one back in.
Yep.
Now what happens? Do I have to put one on there now?
No, it just stays there.
Does it stay there?
Until I get rid of it.
Now, is there going to be a way of marking it as mine? So are we going to recommend painting your spell tokens?
I think either painting them, or maybe we could eventually do some nice little... I like the idea of having little round tokens that sit under them that are coloured, maybe.
Yeah.
But then is that a token on top of a token? Is that a bit
much? Might get a bit loose, frankly.
So then maybe just painting them would be nice.
Well, whatever the case, I'm going to chuck one of those in. So that's 1 plus 1 I've already done to bring another skeleton in over here. Mm-hmm. There we go.
Ah, damn you. You now have 5 spell points left. What do you do?
So I'm going to put...
Remember, you've got this chap over... Oh, no, that's mine. Yeah. You can't resurrect mine. Maybe you can.
I'll use 1 on this guy. Stand him up. I'm going to... So while they're on the ground, they're out of play, basically. Mm-hmm. You can move through them.
You can move through them. They don't affect anything.
If, you want to get to where they are, can you move them aside? Is that a thing?
Maybe.
There's a question, isn't there?
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good question. I'll write that down as a question.
Yeah.
So that I can.
Because if you surround an objective with models, and I kill them all, I still then can't stand on the objective.
Yes, and also there is an issue with when do you stand them up? I don't like the idea that when you stand them back up, they go straight back into combat. That they're back exactly where they were. So then, do you move them a little bit out of the way, or is it an inch out of the way? And if you're completely surrounded by models, then does that mean you can't move out of the way?
It's the sort of thing where basically you just have to keep on testing it, and every time that happens, write a rule for it, and eventually you'll cover off 80% of the eventualities.
Exactly. So my theory at the moment was that you move up to an inch away, you move as close as you can without touching any models.
Like you stand back up, and then you back off.
You back off, yes. You stand back up where you were, and then but you can't be raised touching an objective or any other models.
Yeah.
And then if you're completely surrounded, my thinking is that, and you can't back off, is that you're obliterated instead.
Yeah.
I think that's maybe a bit harsh.
Might be a little bit harsh, but I like the sound of it.
Yeah.
I put a spell point on him, 1 on each of these, and keep 1 on the vampire. Oh, I don't know, because that objective over there is looking pretty harsh. 1 over there, and move that one onto there. There we go. Cool. Okie dokie.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my spell phase. Now I'm going... That was my spell phase, wasn't it?
That was your spell phase.
Which is at the end of my turn.
Oh yeah, because you already moved and you already did your combat.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was really ineffective. Yeah. I didn't shoot my shooty people.
Oh, do you want to do it?
I'll do it now. Yeah,
but
cool.
Don't use your spell points because you allocated.
He was down.
He's
and
down.
So it's just these 2.
Okay.
They're going to shoot at this guy over here who's standing by himself.
And they are touching a wall, so it doesn't matter.
So rolling 2, keeping 2, 5 and a 4. So he's down.
There we go. He's the only one that doesn't have an ablative wound on him.
There you go. It's almost like I planned it. Also, that guy hasn't got one as well.
So sorry. Oh, where?
That one next to him hasn't either.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, see, I can count.
I apparently can't. No. So there we go.
Yeah. But together, teamwork.
So you can stand where they are. Sorry, I'm just writing down this
cool.
This question so that I can come up with a solution afterwards. There we go. Okay, so it's my turn.
It is your turn. Is that the end of the round? No, I went first.
You went first,
cool.
so it's me now. So
that's another thing in favour of scoring at the end of your turn, because it's easy to forget who is at the end of the round. Mm-hmm. So if you just score at the end of your turn, what reason not to as well? 1 to think about.
So this chap's going to attack this guy.
Yep.
He's got 2 dice. He's got a thing there, so I'm going to...
Excuse me.
I'm going to roll 2, keep 2. I'm going to discard that.
I'm going to give you TB. That's my special...
Is that why you're coughing at me?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, I'm going to hopefully roll 2 and keep 2, because that's pretty much the only way I can take him out of play is by getting rid of the ablative wound and then wounding him again. So I need to roll a 5 and a 6 on both dice. Absolutely fantastic. Remove that one. That's pretty good.
Start.
But then fail to roll on the other
Yeah.
one. So there we go. This chap's going to attack here. I'm going to do the same thing. Roll 2 and keep 2.
Yep.
I again roll exactly the same dice, a 6 and a 4. So I remove the spell point, but I don't do any damage to you.
Have you got some kind of like anti-magic spray? Is that what,
do actually need to discard the spell point as well. I'm in my fight phase, and I haven't done any movement. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this last point that was sitting on him, because I haven't used it as an ablative wound. I'm going to use that as a magic missile.
Yep.
And I'm going to go for this guy over here again, because he's the only one that's not obstructed. I'm rolling 2 dice, keeping 1.
Yep.
Oh, and there we go. Down I go.
He just got back up.
So, just as an aside here, this is really comfy. The reason why skeletons are really easy to sort of take down is because you're playing on a entire table of a battlefield filled with bones and skeletons, and it's quite simple to get them back up. So the whole point is it's not about killing one another, it's about how you use your spells and how you resurrect and summon skeletons so that you can capture your objectives. That's the theory behind this. There we go.
I liked that. That was good.
You like
I
it?
think you'd already said that, but that's okay.
No, but I wanted to re-emphasise it, because as we play, you can see that the skeletons are down, up, down, up, down, up, and I'm very conscious of that. But I actually think that suits the theme.
Yeah.
Because
sorry, go on.
Sorry, because you don't want it to feel like a really unsatisfying game where you can't kill anything. But that's the whole point.
Yeah.
Is that
I think the obliterating could be a really interesting key, and there might be you need to pull the lever and work out where the right line is for obliterating. Is it actually if you exceed the number of wounds by 1 or by 2 or something? Because I think the fact that there's a delay in summoning new things back means that is quite powerful, but it also it clears the table in quite a good way. There's lots to think about there. One thing that I am wondering about, I know we talked about this a while ago. Yeah. What are your thoughts currently on, as you level up, what is your warband? When you summon new skeletons, can you level up your skeletons, basically, is my question.
Lots of people have, lots of people, I don't mean lots of people, a very small number of people who I've spoken to, say that it feels weird for skeletons to level up. I really like the idea of your skeletons leveling up. Yeah. Because I like the idea that you have like your core warband that you kind of get attached to, and then you're sort of summoning like dodgy side skeletons who are sort of rushed. The idea that your necromancer has spent time crafting these skeletons, that they actually have planks of wood and nails keeping them together, not just magic. I quite like that idea. I like the idea of naming them and them being good and better. I like the idea that maybe there are certain skeletons who get so imbued with magic because they're constantly being resurrected that maybe they always carry a single spell point buff on them. They can't use spells, but their bones are so filled
start
with
with
magic.
one, you can put a second one on them, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. That they always carry that single buff that you can have every turn. Maybe they have cooler weapons or cooler armor. Yeah. Maybe the only ones that can have armor are the ones that are in your core.
And if they get obliterated, they can still be raised again after the battle.
Absolutely.
So you don't. There's no sort of permanent death.
No. Well, if they get obliterated, you can summon them back during the game.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
But it'll cost you more time and effort. So, of course, if half your favourite warband, Bob the Skeleton, gets obliterated, you raise him back first before you start raising back your other skellies. I don't think that's prevented in the game. And that's my thinking and my feeling. I know lots of people are like, oh yeah, but you could upgrade your necromancer in certain ways so that your skeletons get bonuses. And I don't disagree with that as a theory. So I think once we've got the core mechanics pinned down,
you start thinking what that means.
Yeah, we'll have to test that. But what I don't want is you to have this huge play sheet maybe for your necromancer that's got like 30 different special rules on it that apply to all your different skeletons and all your different, your goblins and everything. And then all of your guys just being like your generic frontline guys. It just feels like that's not as fun. Yeah. And what I want is for people to spend time and enjoy their models.
And like convert, sculpt extra detail on your models, that sort of stuff.
Absolutely.
So I think, I don't know whether this should be something that is encouraged or forbidden, but the idea occurs to me that if you can summon back your cool guy, can you like kill him? Can you make him explode so that he can reappear somewhere else? You know, is that a thing? Can you kamikaze your skeletons? Basically?
Exactly. Or is it really bad for them if they get obliterated? Maybe they lose one of their level ups.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a thing. Or is it that maybe if you've got special characters like, I don't know, the Bone Goblin of Doom I meant Bone Golem is what I was thinking, but I said Goblin. I love the idea of a tiny Bone Goblin being more terrifying than everyone else.
Doom.
But like, say you had a Bone Golem or a giant or something, maybe they have a special attack, which means that whenever they kill you, you lose a level up. You know, so not kill, I mean obliterate. So that, you know, you really don't want to go near that thing unless you've got a mob of you. Or maybe you want to take it out with ranged shooting, you know, before you actually go in to finish it off.
Yeah.
I like the idea that there's risk in a campaign setting, but I don't want it to mean that, you know, your guy gets knocked out, you know, in the first game and then he's just a bit rubbish for the rest of the game. I remember very, very clearly remember one of my first ever games with Necromunda. I think it was literally my first game and I'd never played before, and one of my juvies got so badly wounded that he was just a bit useless after that, and I was just like,
that's Necromunda, isn't it?
Oh no, don't get me wrong, I love it. It's a game very close to my heart. But what I don't want people to do is to resent developments. What I want them to do is embrace them and go, oh yeah, that goblin just always has one arm because every time I equip him with a piece of equipment, he loses it.
Yeah.
And what I desperately don't want people to do is when they're playing the game for them to have that tone of,
yeah.
That's
so. You want people to enjoy the game?
Yeah. Good.
Oh, I've been going about this all wrong.
But this is a light-hearted game. It's not supposed to be super competitive. It's not supposed to be tournament play.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be fun, which is why I like things like the mobbing mechanic, because it encourages you to play goblin skeletons and dwarf skeletons in the way that traditional undead work.
Yeah.
And I really like that. That zombies maybe have a bonus in mobbing because zombies should mob things. I like the potential there to play in a fun way. Anyway, that was a big an aside. What was I doing? I was in the middle of my spell phase. So I'm going to remove all of these and bring back... I didn't bring my guys back. That wasn't my spell phase. I was at the start of my spell phase.
You were. That was you'd done some.
Yes, so I'm going to gather in all of my guys. I did fighting, didn't I?
You did.
That was what I did.
Yep.
So I'm going to do my spell phase next. So I gather in all of my spell points.
Yep.
Then I'm going to spend another 3 spell points, which is equal to 1 for each skeleton because they each have 1 wound.
Yeah.
To then place those there.
Ooh.
Yes. And then I have 5 points left, so I'm going to beef up some chaps. Incidentally, I don't have any skeletons now left off the board, so that's pretty much my limit for summoning for this game.
So in this case, it would be your starting warband was 5, but you have a total potential control limit of 8.
Out of 8.
Yeah.
I think there's 8 on the board.
And maybe like big things take up several of that. You know?
Exactly. So maybe, or maybe you can summon like a beefed up character, or is it that your cool leveled up ones take up more slots than your standard boring skellies, and maybe someone just goes, I'm going to have 14 completely dull blank skellies, and someone else goes, no, I'm going to have my 6 best skellies that have been leveled up. I quite don't know how that would work at this point. So I'm going to beef up that chap. I'm going to get that chap back up.
They're all chaps, aren't they?
Yeah, well, dwarves, maybe. This is a lady one, then. She's going to get back up. You can't tell that she hasn't got a beard, because they don't have beards. I
could hear you were sad as you said that. You're a dwarf player, and it hurts you deep inside that you haven't got a beard.
Yeah, it does. That actually wounds me.
So you've raised up and you've backed away from the objective and me?
And you, the objective. I don't think you should be able to raise... You should be able to resurrect or reanimate next to an objective.
Yeah, makes sense.
But it is now my movement.
Yep, so now you can move into the objective.
Yes, because
he loses that because he stood up, didn't he?
Yes, thank you. Oh, then I allocated him incorrectly. That was entirely me not concentrating. So
You want to allocate all of them and then immediately stand up the ones that have...
rather than
that's the
doing
way
it
it
the
should
other way.
But
Can I have the tape measure, please?
You certainly can.
So, now it's my movement. So, I am going to run away from that chap over here, over the vampire, and move into combat there. Now, I can't actually attack you because I've already had my fight phase.
Yeah.
This one over here is going to run over there. This chap's going to go into there. This one's going to delay you there. This one is going to mob you there.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the end of my round.
Cool.
That's what, and end of my turn, which is then incidentally the end of the round. So now we score objectives.
So, who's got what? I've got one there.
I've got one there. That's
That's
me.
you, isn't it? Yeah, okay, I have one.
I have one
there.
here. Now, this is another choice, a decision to be made about objectives and if they've been equally held. I quite like the idea that whoever has the most models on an objective scores the objective.
That's me.
So that's you. If you've got equal amounts of models on the objective, I like the idea of you both getting a point. Because then it forces you to sort of get into those scraps. Because if something's out of play, obviously I'm going to resurrect it next turn, but you score the objective in that turn.
Yeah.
So,
cool.
Yeah.
So that's the end of the round.
That's the end of the round.
So this video is now at just about an hour.
Okay.
So I think that's probably a good time to call it. One last question though. How do the necromancer and the vampire, they have the same rules of damage, they just have more wounds? Is that right? More health?
Yeah. So at the moment, the principle is that they have loads of health because they're alive. Not quite. They're sort of a bit more alive than skeletons are. They're sort of fleshy.
They're certainly better at holding themselves together.
Exactly. Just pulling themselves. They, at the moment, damage in the same way, but as I said, that might change with adding on like dice that get held, like they keep. That being a bonus. The main thing they have is they have higher health, higher defense, better fighting. They have a better shoot value, or at least he does. He's got the same as a skeleton.
They've generally got better stats, basically.
Better stats, and they have more health, way more health. Like
and probably
10.
eventually a couple of special rules that do something. Or,
So it might be that what I like the idea of is that each one of them has a specific spell that only they can do. So it might be that the necromancer is better at bracing skeletons, but the vampire does more direct damage.
Oh, could the vampire nick spell points off enemy models if he kills them?
Oh, that would be good, wouldn't it?
Like soul vampire.
Yeah, because then that sort of fits in with the narrative.
And also that means that he's going to be out roaming around the battlefield, jumping on whoever has been powered up. And,
exactly. Because then that's really good. I really like that idea. Also a thing that I really like the idea of is that the narrative maybe, is that the ones that you have in your warband, before you summon any additional ones, are actually like imbued with the souls of warriors, which I think fits in really nicely with Chris's new stretch goal, which are...
Anyway,
hi.
Yeah.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, that was cool. Have a shaky hand for that.
It's
well
good.
Played. I thought that went really well.
Yes, it was really fun. Obviously, it took a lot longer than it would if you were just playing the game because we were stopping and talking an awful lot during that. This is what playtesting largely is. We will play a game, and every single decision you make, it will throw up questions about things you haven't really thought about until you actually physically play a game. So I've got a lot of questions that I've noted down now, which I'm going to go away and work on. So let me know in the comments if you've got any thoughts.
And we need to talk about the Bonefields Needy Cat Games VIP event day bonanza surprise.
No way, James. What is it and when is it happening?
Well, what it is on the 12th of May, which is a Saturday, Saturday 12th of May 2018, we're hosting a day here in Nottingham where people can come and hang out with us, the Needy Cat Games
crew.
People. Yeah. And Chris from MacLeod, who's behind all these miniatures. You guys can come and hang out with us and play Bonefields all day. We're going to do a custom narrative campaign. We're going to have a great laugh with it. At this point, the game will be in kind of the last stages of development, so it'll be much tighter than what you've seen here today. But there will still be chances for you to give us feedback, tell us what you like, what you don't like, get your voices heard.
You'll get your pledge early because it's before the delivery dates.
Absolutely.
So...
Chris is going to make sure it's all cast up, bring it up, give it away to you. To qualify to enter, here's what you have to do. There are three things. Three things?
Three things?
That's very German. It's a German way of doing 3.
Oh, is it?
I learnt that from a film.
Ah.
3 things you have to do. The first one is you have to pledge to back the pledge. How would you say this? Pledge your support to the Bonefields Kickstarter at £100 or more. Now, the game pledge, the really cool one, is 65 quid.
Mm-hmm.
So that plus a few add-ons, you're sorted.
Yeah.
Second one and third one, you have to sign up to both the Needy Cat Games and Macrocosm Miniatures newsletters. All the links for that I'll put in the comments or the event video description thing below.
Down here,
I do words good.
Yes. I'm so glad you're a writer.
I can write the words good. I can't speak the words at all. But
right.
yeah, we'll do that, and you can come and hang out with us. We're going to draw a winner every week. Now there was we're owed one draw. We're going to do a double draw this week because we're really organised and forgot to do the one last week.
Yep.
But if you get your entry in before noon GMT on Friday, we will do the draw and
pick out 2 names.
Yep.
And they will be the first 2 names to be able to attend our gaming event in Nottingham.
And there are 3 more after that. So there's space for 5 people, plus Chris and us. That's 8 people playing on the day. It's going to be great.
It's going to be great
looking
fun.
forward to it. And then we're going to go to the pub afterwards, drink some fizzy drinks and play some board games maybe.
Yes, maybe some board games. Maybe we'll have other things that we'll be able to show you,
Come hang out with us, ask us what we're working on.
Yeah.
Break into the office, steal our stuff.
Stroke a cat.
Cat does not need stroking.
It does. It is a cat.